As the Vic Mignogna sexual allegations story continues, Toye and the members of the KickVic movement have responded to several of the IStandWithVic supporters in their stance of having to back up Vic Mignogna throughout this entire situation. As joining me here today to discuss the comments having to be made by both parties, my good friend EmoshIsLIVE, as I do encourage you all to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button to be in the loop with all latest news, information, and updates involving the entirety of the Vic Mignogna situation. Now, Emosh, when looking at both narratives, when looking at both of the hashtag KickVic supporters and the hashtag IStandWithVic supporters, what are your overall thoughts as to the comments being made by Ron, by the comments made on behalf of the IStandWithVic members, and do you believe that all of this is done in a professional manner or more or less in an unprofessional kind of bias, or do you think that things are just being blown out of proportion with people having to attack each other left and right? And when looking at the overall testimonies that were put out by IO9, do you believe that these testimonies will actually hold their weight in court, or do you believe that these testimonies are simply he say, she say, and nothing more that can't really weigh, you know, as much in court as one may intend?
Well, first, let's acknowledge that a testimony isn't a testimony until it's in court. That's one. Two, let's also acknowledge that they haven't gone to court. Three, let's also acknowledge the fact that they've stated multiple times that they have sought law enforcement, that they've sought after lawyers, and an investigation was done internally inside the company, which is possible, but I don't see where, you know, why a lawyer would be needed for that, unless a lawyer was brought forth simply to be a witness to basically take notes in case an actual lawsuit were to, you know, in case an actual lawsuit were to be initiated. So with that in mind, you'd have to really consider questioning the way they're acting on Twitter, right? Because one of the most common things that lawyers will tell you is to stay away from things that might incite you to say things you're not supposed to be saying. And social media, the problem is they can't stay away from social media because that's where the entire argument is, and that's where their power is. Because one of their arguments is that, well, a lot of the people coming out against Vic, they don't really know each other, they have nothing in common, so how can there be an agenda? Well, yeah, they do have something in common, but what they have in common is that they're seeking power by playing the victim card. And by being a victim, they're seeking support, and they're playing this mob rule or strength in numbers idea. And that's what they're trying to, like, you know, put forward as their premise. And that's enough for them. But then by doing that, it's like they don't realize that they stand on the backs of actual assault and rape victims. People who are violently assaulted and actually raped. And they use them as a means to say, this is why people don't come out. Well, yeah, I mean, they don't come out because of people like you. They don't want to be lumped in with you, right? So that's that. Like, they're victims of themselves at this point, and it's really hard to see. It's really hard to see how they'll be able to survive this. So to answer the question, I mean, as far as Ron's like performance or the way he's acting on Twitter, it's not really surprising. I mean, just a couple days ago, he was extending an olive branch to say, you know, and apologizing to Vic and asking him to get on a phone call. And the reason I think this is important for people to know is that, one, like I mentioned before, once a lawsuit is sought after and it's initiated, your lawyer will tell you not to communicate with the opposing side ever for any reason whatsoever. It doesn't matter if they try to reach out to you. Don't communicate with them. You're not allowed to do that. The minute you go forward with a case and you intend to go forward with a case, your lawyer, same thing, right? Your lawyer will tell you not to communicate with the opposing side. And which is interesting considering that they too have claimed a couple times that they have actually, you know, invoked the terminology of having a lawyer, law enforcement, so on and so forth. So I don't understand why they're not following that piece of advice. You know, the Monica Rial didn't do it. Toye is definitely not doing it. He's clearly not doing that. Sean Schemmel didn't do it. And all this entire camp is just not doing that. And also, ironically enough, what's also important to note is the fact that these people have kind of, you know, willingly, Monica's statement came after the fact that we found out Vic Mignogna had lawyered up, right? Toye now wanted to extend an olive branch of forgiveness to Vic by getting him in a phone call, but only by getting him in a phone call. And Vic did the right thing. He didn't respond. And now what's happening? Now Vic is continuing. They're continuing to slander him. So now it's not about him being a sexual assailant or a rapist or a pedo. Now he's robbing from his fans because of the GoFundMe, even though the GoFundMe has been stated to go to an actual domestic violence abuse shelter. So that's that. And then he's also being claimed to, like, now he's cheating on his fiance, stuff like that. I mean, the problem here is that Vic has openly admitted to certain things, but he's still denying the other stuff. And that's what's relevant here. And still, for some reason, they still feel like with enough pressure, they can get Vic to not go to court or something like that. I don't know what their mindset is. All I will say is that it's almost as if it's kind of shocking to see that Toye just discovered what a testimony is, and he still doesn't understand what it is, despite discovering what it is. And by him acknowledging and saying what a testimony is by his own admission, to acknowledge what a testimony is and not understand what it is, he'd simply be admitting to slander at this point. He's admitting to slandering Vic at this point. So to say that, oh, all I have is a testimony, that's all I need to prove my case. Yeah, you're absolutely right, but you have to do that in court. That doesn't apply to social media justice, okay? So because of that, you have to say, well, okay, that means he's admitting to slandering Vic because all the stuff that he's saying is completely outlandish. And none of this stuff is being said about him. Vic is not coming at his throat the way they are. So this is something that it's almost as if they just don't give a fuck. And you could censor that out if you want to. Like, they just simply don't care. They
right. Well, I was going to ask, you know, looking at how Ron wanted to extend the olive branch to Vic and wanted to speak to him, I thought that would be something that would be the step in the right direction. But after looking at all the comments having to be made about how he's going after, you know, Vic cheating on his fiance and robbing his fans, which I don't see the context behind that, and then going as far as to tell people that they're stupid and they don't know what they're talking about and not to follow YouTube as a source. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because that seems very contradictory in terms of like what he's trying to, you know, portray.
Let's just say that, well, to not follow YouTube is interesting. I mean, yeah, you have some people out there that kind of report with the intent of gaslighting, of getting people upset and getting people riled up, only to just go on Twitter and just act like monsters, right? That's not what I condone. And whenever I portray my arguments, or whenever I have a conversation with you guys, and if I'm not doing this, then please feel free to let me know so I can fix that. I always try to acknowledge a couple things first, and then see if that acknowledgement is still worthy of being acknowledged as the conversation and as the analysis, you know, progresses. So with that, I mean, I think that's the proper way to do it. But to tell people not to watch YouTube, when a lot of these people have become famous through it, like most of these people wouldn't know. You know, when you look up voice actor Obama, you're gonna watch interviews between Monica Rial and company, Vic Mignogna and company on YouTube. You're not gonna watch it anywhere else at this point. So to stay away from YouTube and don't believe the news and don't believe this. It's like they're playing the Trump card, the fake news card, but they're using a tactic used by someone that they despise, and that's Trump, right? So it's kind of ironic, right. And it kind of proved this idea of them eating their own. They're willing to contradict themselves just to make the other side not look as good as it did before. And at this point, like I said, they just simply don't give a shit. There's no other fathomable way you could explain this, Alex, right? They just don't give a damn. And if they lose their position, so what? They have connects. They can just go somewhere else. They know they won't serve jail time. They know that if they lose, he'll probably get his position back. He'll get access to his, and some kind of economic growth. So they don't really have anything to lose other than just some fines here and there. And to them, some fine, it's just a few bucks to them here and there. But that's the problem. This idea of saying that I have money to spend and I'm willing to spend that much money just to make sure that this guy has no life, cannot live the rest of his life, and can spend the rest of his days past his prime with this on the back of his, on his shoulder, is disappointing. And before I even wrap up this argument, I just want to say that I think, it's not so much about the hashtag IStandWithVic, right? It's that people are more inclined to not believe them simply because of how they're acting. So it has nothing to do with I support Vic. It's just more so like you're making it easy to support him. It's like you guys don't want fans anymore, and then you guys complain when we attack you. And Monica does the same thing. She states she claims in her statement that to see me being attacked by the community that I recently stood up for is, it really hurt me. No, you stood up for yourself as a woman, and you should have been doing this. You should have done this a long time ago. So this idea of not being able to acknowledge that a fistful of hair, an invasion of personal space, and whispering into the ear, to say that you don't find that inappropriate, and that you just now realize that it's inappropriate because you saw it happening to other people, or because other people told you that it was happening to them. It's almost a saying. I can't even break it down. It's one big mindfuck at this point. So you guys get the point. You might as well ask where babies come from. If you don't see that behavior as inappropriate, and you only see that as inappropriate now, just to blame the guy for something, you might as well ask where babies come from. So it's just one giant clusterfuck of, it's crazy. It's just madness, and it's difficult to keep up with, because it's difficult to be able to process just how these people, finish the rest of their day thinking that they had an argument presented.
And it's really torn the entire community apart in terms of relationships and people having to fight amongst each other, which is pretty crazy now because we're entering, I think, the 35th day of all this going down. So in the end, guys, we want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Ron's comments? What are your thoughts on Monica's comments? What are your thoughts on Vic's statement? And what are your thoughts on the entirety of the community having to be at an uproar in terms of like where they stand and who they stand with? We want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. So thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once more, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, slap a like down below if you guys enjoyed, tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys. Peace.